Sexual assault in the military is so, they use the word epidemic. And in our film, The Invisible War, when we describe the film, it is about the epidemic rapes in our military.
What does the film reveal?
It reveals, number one, that people don't feel safe and they don't feel believed or honored when they go and they report. Number two, it reveals that when they do come forward, the brave ones that do, they are vilified, they are made to be the culprits, they are charged with adultery in many cases, they are dishonorably discharged, they've lost their benefits. I mean, the list goes on and on.
And I wake up and that he's on top of me. He's already penetrated me.
I was drugged. I remember the sounds, the smell.
He put his locked and loaded .45 at the base of my skull, engaged the bolt so that I knew there was a round chambered.
This could be your sister, your daughter, a cousin, a neighbor. These are women who went into the armed forces to be educated, to learn, and to serve our country. And they are extremely proud, capable people.
He slammed my head against the concrete wall and very forcefully had sex with me.
Within the 2-week period, he raped me 5 times.
When we got tested, I had trick and gonorrhea, and I was pregnant.
Some of them, it was their commanding officer. In other cases, they were fellow officers and they were gang raped. It was more than one. Some cases, they're brutal. And in every single case, these people were encouraged by their fellow officers and by their superiors not to push it further, not to report it, to just buck it up.
Do you think that this problem has been allowed to perpetuate precisely because in this culture we don't criticize the military?
Yes, because of that. That's a big part of it. The military is one of the last bastions of our culture and our society where they have a completely different judicial system.
Females would come up to their commanders or their NCOs and say that they were either sexually assaulted or abused, and I don't think it was taken seriously.
I remember bringing in a young service member who had been brutally raped and bringing her in to see her command and trying to make sure that this young girl was taken care of properly. And this idiot chewed her out for crying, told her to stop crying over spilt milk.
I was ordered to advise a victim of her rights for false statement when I knew that she wasn't lying. I was asked to bring her in and advise her of her rights like a criminal and interrogate her for false statement, quote unquote, until I got the truth out of her.
I was struck this week. The Air Force officer in charge of preventing sexual abuse in the Air Force was charged with groping a woman. Suddenly, it's on the front burner as an issue. Why did it take something as egregious as that to get the conversation going in this country?
It's really like the perfect storm. Congressional hearings are brewing about this issue, and there's still egregious attacks going on right at the same intersection. And this one was just too incredible to ignore.
When you heard about the charges that the Air Force officer in charge of preventing sexual abuse was actually accused of abuse, what was your first thought?
My first thought was, oh my gosh, again. But my second thought was, I just was grateful that it was for all the world to see, so to speak, all the country to see, including our president.
For those who are in uniform, who've experienced sexual assault, I want them to hear directly from their commander-in-chief that I've got their backs, I will support them, and we're not going to tolerate this stuff, and there will be accountability. If people have engaged in this behavior, they should be prosecuted.
He's gone on record now, and I believe him.
Do you think it's enough to change the culture? Just going on record and saying, we're done with this?
No, we need a few steps to happen before the culture will change. The next thing that needs to happen is our Secretary of Defense, Chuck Hagel. We need for him to help pass legislation or endorse it that the people who commit these crimes will be held to the same rule of law as the rest of us in civilian life. And that also people, the victims, can report it outside the chain of command. There needs to be all new protocols set up.